Yeah, what up, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Discord, maybe? We back, man. You know what it is. It's another Docs Radio banger. Realest recruiter in the game, so put some respect on my name. Like it, tweet it, share it with somebody who needs to see it. Salute to all my DGens. Big up all the Anons. What's up and welcome to all my institutional people. Hopefully this is our year. Today, I am pumped to bring you a really fun episode with one of my favorite founders and a proud up top capital investment. I got my man, Ben here from Cap Labs. What up, Ben?
Hey, everyone. Nice to be here again. I think it's my second time with you guys.
We are definitely back. Last time we did an abbreviated version at the Penn Blockchain Conference a few years back. And I guess that's a good place to start. I feel like when I run into you, it's in like quality places with quality people as opposed to like just being somewhere to be seen, you know, which also kind of goes hand in hand with like something I've been thinking about lately is like there's a lot of founders, and this is no shade, no shots, but there's a lot of people out there who just start projects just because they want to be a founder. What I'm excited about from this episode mostly is to learn a lot from you about your learnings across starting a few projects now. You're a young guy, but no shortage of experience as a founder. And yeah, let's kick it off there. I mean, we don't. If you want to know the whole lore, you can go back and watch the first episode. But give us a quick breakdown. Like, what are your previous projects like, and how did we get here today?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I love being here. I think it's a good vibe.
My man.
Everybody knows up top, so it's always a pleasure. Yeah, I've done a couple of things in this space. I think it's my third project now. I started doing a lot of very infra-heavy stuff at Hedera Hashgraph back in 2019. Did Cheetah obviously before this, and now doing Cap. But it's been a long ride. I think crypto has changed a lot, and it's continuing to change. Even last time we talked when it was Penn Blockchain, crypto was a different world. Now, despite of how markets may or may not be doing, ETH may or may not be doing, we're reaching mass adoption. Like, it's actually happening. So it's exciting times.
You've been building, for quite a while. Like, how would you summarize on a high level? Like, what are the changes that are most impactful that you've seen over the years to the space?
Well, obviously, when I was doing infra, there was no DeFi. Like, DeFi didn't exist. We were just talking about middleware. Everybody was trying to decide what the right blockchain was going to look like. And we didn't really know if crypto was going to stick around. Right? Like 2019, 2018, that was like the bad bear. Like, it was like a winter. This stuff that we had just now was not it. Like, it was not that bad, right? People were still getting funded, markets were still functioning, etc. So that was like very, very tough. I think between, when I was doing Cheetah to now, what has changed is the scale. Before, all of DeFi was just a token game. A lot of people just issuing tokens and playing with them, trying to do some Ponzi's. But now, because of how regulations are going, because of institutional interest, the scales that we're talking about are way different, and we don't need to rely on like these token games anymore.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing that's interesting to me is that, Cheetah was a stablecoin project, and you're here back again with Cap Labs, another stablecoin project, whereas like I think a lot of people, a lot of other founders could have been distracted or caught up in, the new sexy shiny object in the room, as the space grows and evolves, I don't even mean to use the term grifter, because some people they're not grifters. They just jump too quickly at an opportunity that seems so easily available. And you seem to have the opposite approach, which is like stay in your lane, do what you know about, like focus on what you believe in, and it doesn't have to be the sexiest topic. So I guess talk to me a little bit about staying focused on what you know.
Yeah, I mean, stablecoins used to not be so sexy, right? When we launched nobody was making stablecoins. Everybody was forking Uniswap on L2s. They were forking lending markets like Compound, getting hacked because reentrancy bugs. Goose Finance forks were big, but nobody was really going and doing stablecoins outside of Ethereum. And a lot of the OG DeFi protocols didn't really believe in the cross-chain world. Like Aave, Compound, Maker, they were all, even Fraxed for a long time, they were all just staying on Ethereum, Yearn. And so we built a name for ourselves by going on all these chains. And we did it because stablecoins make sense, right? Stablecoins are needed. The first thing that people say when you talk to them about blockchains is, well, I like Bitcoin, I like Ethereum, I like the idea of it, but I don't want my money to go up and down, right? Even though, Bitcoin does better than the dollar long term or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, we've always loved stable coins. And so, yeah, it's been very interesting to be part of that.
You know, we're going to get into why Mega ETH. Obviously, you're building Cap on Mega ETH. But, like, I guess what happened in the market, or what was the opportunity that you saw, or the reason to start another stablecoin project / part two to that is, like, why not try something else?
When we made the DeFi in general was what we would call endogenous. All of the value coming for DeFi users came from within DeFi. So namely, it was two things. One is usage fees, and the other one is token emissions. As you know, like there were all these like Ponzi's to get a lot of TVL in DeFi, and all of them were predicated on token emissions, be it CRV emissions, like trying to like optimize for that via AMOs. There's so many different kinds of Ponzi's that all relied on somebody else buying the governance token of the DeFi project you were working for, and that worked for a while. But then at some point, people stopped buying our tokens, right? At some point, you could no longer do these kind of like bribing schemes. Like you needed something real. And so the whole industry decided to pivot and go towards exogenous yield. How can we get yield that's not correlated with DeFi, that comes from outside of DeFi? Because if it comes from outside of DeFi, then maybe it scales better. The problem is everybody and their grandmothers did a T-bill stablecoin, right? Everybody said, well, let's bring the value of T-bills on chain. And it's great. And everybody started building that. The second that they went to market with it, crypto native yields went up and suddenly they were all obsolete. And so you have like a lot of 2022, 2023 projects that were building T-bill stablecoins that as soon as they launched in 2024, completely obsolete. Nobody's using them. Everybody's using Ethena. And so you have a lot of these. Like there's a lot of stablecoins where they basically act like hedge funds, right? You give them money and they'll have some sort of strategy to generate yield. Most of them are T-bill stablecoins. Some of them are a bit different, like Ethena, for example, where they have like a diversified hedge fund where they can do different sort of strategies. But it all comes down to teams doing something with your money to generate yield for you, which is exactly how hedge funds work. I wasn't really happy with that. I thought, this is not what we were supposed to be making, right? Because the second you move from endogenous yield from within crypto and start, trying to get yield from outside of the blockchain, you start introducing trust assumptions, right? You now have to trust somebody to take your money off chain and do something with it, or even to custody it. And I think the solutions that were popping up were very dangerous.
Got it. Well, let me bring us back a little bit to the question, which is like let's talk about from an operating perspective of building and running your company. I guess when you were working on Cheetah or My Finance, what are some of the things that you did right that you're now like doubling down on for Cap? And maybe what are things that you're thinking about doing differently this time around?
Yeah, I think something that we did very well was maximizing for composability and partnerships. There are a lot of projects that try to do everything themselves, right? Like they'll do their own Oracle, their own bridge, their own chain, their own everything. Building a walled garden, basically. What Mai was very popular for was always partnering with everybody. All the bridges, all the decentralized exchanges, all the chains. And that won us a lot of favors, right? Because like when other people are integrating your stablecoin or you're working with somebody else, then there's more capital rooting for you.
Yep.
And so that makes it easier for you to scale. So I think that's something that we did pretty well. On things that we could have improved, a lot of things. Every startup you do, I don't know, I feel like you're a 10x better founder from the last time. I think about things I did back in 2019. I almost cringe thinking about all the mistakes we made, all the opportunities we could have taken. Same with Maya. I think there were just a lot of things we could have done. Yeah, I mean, some on the product side, some on the team side. Raising capital, I think maybe I would have done that. I think that
you didn't raise anything for Maya?
No, it was completely bootstrapped. It was very like 2021 vibes. Let's give 90% of the token supply to random strangers. We block all the centralized exchanges from listing us and like really just go man of the people type of project. I think there's value in having investors. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. What do you think would have went differently with Mai if you did have investors?
Who knows, right? I think for one, it's like when you have a village of people helping you, there's more that you can do. Right? You're not doing everything yourself. I always like to think of investors, and I think I've told you this before, as an extension of your team, right? They're basically employees you can't fire, right? Because they are invested in you, and for the time that they're invested, they're going to be with you. So you might as well use them.
Yeah.
Right?
I've said this to you off camera, but while we're here, man, thank you for letting me in. I know that I know from others, friends of mine, that you're very selective And I also know there was a ton of people kicking your door down trying to get involved. And what I find interesting a little bit, to be honest with you, is that you let me in for a reason that, hey, I'm here to help you. Or I think one of the reasons probably is I'm here to help you with hiring if you need it. You know, I guess like most companies, as soon as they raise, like as soon as that money hits the account, they're like, boom, Dan, get me this person, get me that person. And you're just like slowly cooking and like very strategically plucking from your own network, and like you don't need me yet, really, is the truth about it. And so
Not yet, but
no, I am, but like I'm such I'll quick tangent being like with all these current Ponzi scams going on, like when I'm out there speaking to candidates in the market these days, like I am only really pitching founders that I trust and projects that I believe in that are building real shit with good intentions, you know? And so I'm just glad to have Cap as, you know, in my portfolio as something that I can stand on confidently and that I know is not, you know, going to make me look bad in 2 years. You know what I mean? Or look at least like a rug in 2 years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we took our time hiring.
Yeah.
Like we raised in July. I say we, but it was one man show at the time. And for 2 months, didn't hire anybody. And then eventually we hired one person, and then some time went on, and then we hired another. But to be honest, aside from the first hire, everybody else I already had, like, we knew we were going to hire them.
That's
right?
great.
Because in DeFi, there are not that many people that know what they're doing, right? Like, how many devs do you know that have deployed smart contracts that have held billions of dollars?
Yeah.
There's not that many. There's maybe 20.
That actually brings up a quick question I wanted to ask, kind of touching back on what we hit a little bit earlier, which is like, okay, yeah, over the years, like we said, like there's been mega growth and expansion, like just overall in the space or whatever. But I guess you have a very curated, close circle of DeFi OGs always whenever I see you. You know, these are your associates. This is who you fuck with. How do you reconcile, or how do you feel about with the growth of the space, like the new people who've entered over the years and how that's changed the culture, like from a higher perspective, you know?
Yeah, I think we haven't really had a lot of folks come in to DeFi, like DeFi builders, people that are really like innovating. You always get the folks that come in and try to fork existing projects on new chains to get grants. Like those people aside, there really haven't been a lot of new people coming into the space. So that's good because you eventually get to know everybody, right? Like if you're not a grifter, you're not somebody that's only here for a little bit, eventually we all kind of like coalesce together. But it's been very nice having Trafi come in, because a lot of folks would say, okay, if somebody comes from a bank or from a large financial institution, they're probably very like stuck up, very rigid, whatever. Not at all. Like when I talk to, I mean, I don't want to talk specifically about any institution, but when I talk to these institutions, they use Pendle. I mean, they use Aave, they use Maker, they use Aerodrome. They want to be a part of DeFi, and they've wanted to for many years, but they've never known what it is, the way that they're going to interact with crypto. And so they're hungry to interact with them. And so like, I mean, we were even talking about off camera, like how do we reconcile our connection with like ETH Bushwick and all this stuff we're doing with TradFi?
Wait, let me ask you the question, because that is an important question that I'm interested in hearing, which is like, so you mentioned you slowly brought on people like through your own network. Shout out to DeFi Dave, man, like absolutely epic hire. I know you got Weso from Beefy. So these are like, again, true DeFi native OGs. Everyone knows DeFi Dave is like the man of the Duke of ETH Bushwick, right? Yeah. You know, if you look at the cap table for your project, we're talking IMC, Apollo, like
not Apollo, not yet at least.
Not yet.
Franklin Templeton.
This tier of institutions, right? So I guess my question for you is like, how do you balance the vibes between kind of like appealing to both sides of the coin in that regard?
Yeah, I think we have many audiences, right? If we want to get to the size of Robinhood, of Cash App, like that's kind of the comps that we have for ourselves, then we need to appeal to different kinds of people. There's a huge part of our business which is connecting with financial institutions that want to borrow, want to generate yield. We have people for that, right? Like me and other people that focus on that. There's also the folks that want yield, right, which is largely retail. There's the folks that are going to interact with our token. It's impossible to just have one kind of culture for everybody. And I think having people that are really good at like a specific tranche of audience is very important.
I agree. But like, do you ever feel like, okay, I don't want to get too close to ETH Bushwick in case Apollo comes along and is like, what the hell is this SIGs inside people talking about right now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the Franklin Templeton people love ETH Bushwick. At the end of the day, these TradFi people are more laid back than we think, right? Like at the end of the day, outside of their due diligence, making sure you're legit, that you have a good plan, etc., they want to be able to get a beer with you. They want to know that you're somebody that they want to do business with. Because it's just like when we do business in DeFi, right? It's personal relationships.
Yeah.
And they love this stuff, man. They want to be part of DeFi at every level.
What is the key or the secret in your mind to make these people comfortable doing real like volume scalable business with a DeFi project like yourself?
Well, at the beginning, it comes down with the idea, right? Like if you're asking them to do something that's like very degen or very dangerous or bad for their users, they're not going to do it. So I think in general, they all love the idea of cap and they want to participate in it because they see the value. So that's already like the big entrance point. We focus mostly on, providing that value to them. Then later on, there's the human element, right? We're spending all these like hours with these people and they want to learn more about crypto. They want to learn more about our culture. And that's when like this other side of it comes into play.
My question is this. Someone like yourself, right? You're like, a crypto vibe, young kid that like maybe not as clean cut as the rest of the people running around the Franklin Templeton office or the Apollo office. How do you build these connections, nurture these relationships, and like close these deals without having the institutional Wall Street pedigree that, everyone else, including kind of like myself, I'll be honest, as a recruiter, feels like maybe important and necessary to move the needle in these deals?
Yeah, first of all, you're right. We have been able to close these deals, right? We have IMC, we have Flow Traders, we have Franklin Templeton, SCB from Susquehanna. So like these partnerships are getting done. We're not like, Wall Street people. I do have a background in that, right? So I did M&A at Citibank, so I do speak their language, and I think that helps, right? If I was coming to these institutions and speaking to them as if you would to a DeFi project, it wouldn't work out. That part of that experience, I think, helps a lot. But then another part is who we are in this space, right? You mentioned DeFi Dave, Wesso, me. We have good reputations, right? As like honest builders, people that don't, are not here to grift. We're actually trying to build the future of finance. You're only so many degrees of connections away from these people, right? So if the top DeFi founders like us, if the VCs like us, then, that can help you. That kind of social capital can help you with getting connections outside of crypto.
Do you think that having a Wall Street person like would, push your business forward, like would speed up the momentum here? Or like, how are you thinking about that side of the business?
Yeah, we're doing well so far, right? Like we're getting these kind of partnerships already, but yeah, we're looking to expand the team. Yeah. I think that's a role that I fulfill right now. And eventually we're going to delegate that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
As a founder, you can't do everything, right?
As the project continues on and grows, what do you feel is like going to be your specific like ownership role that you're going to be doing as a founder?
Well, I think the role of a founder is to make sure that things get done, right? Like everything. Like it's not like anything is not your responsibility. If things go south, it's your fault. Having people that are better than me at doing things, like Westo is better than me at like making product, or DeFi Dev is better at narratives, and Jay's good at the things that he does. And so like if you just keep getting people that are better than you at the things that need to get done, and then you kind of like manage, I think that's like the best outcome. I
know through conversations we've had that you're pretty deep in this like Zuzulu community with like Vitalik and the those kind of elite people that are working on that stuff. Have you gotten any like mentorship from those people, from that group of people? And like what are some interesting takeaways or lessons that you've learned from there that maybe you apply when you're working on Cap?
I think it's like a lot of personal stuff, because from a professional point of view, I actually think DeFi would do better not to talk to EF or not to talk to these like protocol level people.
Why's that?
I don't think that the people at the EF or at the protocol level are equipped to have these conversations.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't know and they don't appreciate DeFi. They don't know and they don't appreciate TradFi.
That's not what they're building.
Exactly. They're just building a neutral internet for people to build on.
Yeah. What you do with that is on you.
Exactly. And people keep trying to like have them help them get TradFi, but that's not the way. Like they should just focus on having a permissionless, trustless system that's safe, and then we're building on top of it.
Yeah. How about like completely unrelated to Cap, like as someone who has no idea what those Zuzulu people are like or working on, or what's a day in the life of living that lifestyle? Like, what's it like?
I think it's a lot of people that are very committed to tech in general, right? Whether it be AI, biotech, anything, like it's folks that are not here for the money, right? It's people that are generally trying to innovate with like a capital I, like actually trying to make something new. And it's nice hanging around with those people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you hang around with too many people that are extractive, you get in that mindset. Like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to get something out of it?
Dude, and that's like something that I'm like thinking about these days, trying to reconcile with is like, are we as an industry, and obviously you don't fall into this category, but are we as an industry incentivizing this kind of bad behavior? I think the answer is quite clearly yes. There's a lot of negative headlines going on right now, and it's a sad time because a lot of people are being exposed to scammers and grifters and stuff. For me personally, it's been hard to reconcile my personal relationships with these people, which have been positive, and some of them have done really right by me, and it's hard for me to like immediately think like, okay, now that I've read this headline, you are now a bad person. Like it just takes a minute to process that information, right? And part of me thinking about it is like, okay, how much of this was this person being a bad person, and how much of this was our industry incentivizing bad behavior from them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them are bad people, but not all of them. Like if you tell most people, like you can make, I don't know, like say $40-50 million by doing this kind of like scamming thing, or you wait and see how your project does. Like which one has the highest net present value, right? From a rational thinker's point of view, take the money, right? I think that's what differentiates the people that are here because they're interested and the people that are here because they want to make money. I think most founders just want to make money. The founders that are here because they really are interested in like solving a problem, they're obsessed with a problem, they're not thinking about how much money they're going to make like day 2, day 3, day 4. Like they're really thinking about, can I solve this problem or not? To answer your question, do we incentivize that kind of behavior? Yeah, we have a lot of money in crypto. Like my AI friends can't raise money like this.
Yeah, it's just it's sad, man. Honestly, it like hurts a little bit.
But it's not native to our industry,
right?
Like I was in banking doing SPACs for companies that are garbage, and so it's just that's just how money goes.
Yeah.
The range of age is crazy because now we're hiring for TradFi, right? And that requires to have experience, but how much experience, right? Like we've had people that are like 50 to 60 that are applying for the role.
Yeah.
We also have people that are in their 30s.
Yeah. How are you evaluating the difference as a candidate between those two people?
It's something we're discussing, right? Because on one side, we will get as big as a bank, right? Like we're basically a bank of banks, right? We're lending to other financial institutions. We kind of need somebody with very high pedigree, but also we're an early stage startup, right? And that means that we need to be very careful about the social layer within our company. People need to get along, right? It's not like if you work at Citibank, hire 100 people based on how good they are at the job and they're getting paid, so they'll figure out a way of getting along. That's not how it works for a startup.
But I also think like, kind of like how you said that most people might be surprised at like how chill some of the TradFi guys are.
Yeah.
Like some of the like some of the boomers, like there are some cool boomers that get it and just want to be a part of this and like actually have like real motivation because they've really seen like they've really felt, they felt the problems that we're trying to solve here, right?
One thing I have seen though is like the TradFi people know that we need TradFi people. And right now TradFi has a lot of layoffs, right? Like the job market in Main Street is not doing very well. So now you have a lot of people that know we're all raising a bunch of money and they want to go work for a crypto company, but they don't really believe it.
Right.
Right.
That's you got to screen for the opportunists. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is like if you're under 10 people in your company, you can't afford to hire somebody that's not passionate because that kills you, right?
Of course
like
not.
Maybe if it's the 50th hire, doesn't matter. Are they good at the job? That's fine. Under 10 people, man, you have to be very careful.
Agreed. But let's say that you did find an older guy or woman who was a good culture fit, right? And with that TradFi pedigree. I mean, like
most of the people that we're looking at are at that range.
Yeah, as you should be. I mean, I'm thinking that like, the difference, as you obviously know from working on Wall Street, but one of the main differences between that and in our industry is like there is a real like hierarchy, and it just like you can be the best 25-year-old investment banking analyst ever, but like you have to put in that work that all of your forefathers put in to get like up the food chain. And like until you put in that work, you're not exposed in those rooms where you will get those relationships that will allow you to move the needle in big, moving big institutions on chain or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people say, I'm going to get that BD person or that TradFi person because they studied finance. The way that the decisions are made in TradFi is not based on finance.
Yeah.
It's based on relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you get like a fresh grad that studied like accounting, like what are they going to do? Right. So it's, you're like figuring out like it's in which social circles is very important as well.
And I guess like kind of begs the question of like when you're hiring for Cap for this role and others, like how are you evaluating for a culture fit? Because like you're a unique guy and you have a very specific vision for the vibe of your company. So how do you evaluate a culture fit?
Yeah, I mean, actually for all the hires, maybe talk to them once or twice. But I did a ton of DD before that. Like I talked to all the people that know them. And like I did a lot of stalking them online and seeing, what they've done in the past. There's a lot you can find out about a person without talking to them. Because the problem is sometimes even when you talk to them, you get information, false positives. Like you get things that are not like quite the case. And so I try to do just a lot of research outside of talking to them.
Is there can you give me any example that sticks out to you as far as like something you saw during your research or even during a conversation that you're like, this just doesn't work for us? No,
it's always talking to other people that know them. There's always like kind of bad experiences or maybe things about the fit. But so far it's been experience. Yeah. Everybody at Cap is extremely experienced at what they do, like several years of experience. And so that cuts off a lot of people. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm definitely interested to watch, and I hope that you do onboard a experienced Wall Street person who passes your vibe check. I would love to see you walking around with, a suit out of Deutsche Bank or something
if you hang around Midtown or,
that's what I'll see you with?
Manhattan, you might have already seen me. Yeah, because whenever we're going to meet up, I don't know, like we're meeting up with Fidelity or meeting up with IMC, I'm not showing up in a t-shirt, right?
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I think you have to be respectful of like their space. I already look young. Even though I have experience, so I have to make sure that we're being respectful of their space.
I like how you say that. I like how you think about that. Like read the room. You don't have to change you don't have to code switch completely to.
I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
But like
it's just showing respect.
If I'm going to their office and they're all wearing suits, I'm not gonna show up in a hoodie. It's kind of weird.
You look like a dick, and there's a lot of people in our space that would do shit like that. To be honest with you,
I'm not that guy. I'm not him.
I'm glad
Jamie
you're not.
Dimon is him. He can show up however he wants, wherever he goes. Right.
So you are wearing a Mega ETH shirt today, which I love. Like the whole Megadeth situation going on, which is cool. I guess question was the idea for Cap, like did that come after Mega ETH? Like did you see Mega ETH and you're like, this is the opportunity to build Cap, or did you already have the idea and we're waiting for the right place to deploy it?
I was doing research in general because I was looking at all these stable coins, like I said, that like function like hedge funds, and I was deeply unhappy with how interest-bearing stable coins were going. And so I was just doing research in general about how we can make it work. And then I came across EigenLayer, which a lot of people saw as a coordination layer for, off-chain computation, something like AWS Killer, things that some people care about. I saw it as something much bigger. Like this is the thing that we can use to fix stable coins. That's when Mega ETH came. And Shu Yao, which is one of the co-founders, knew that I was working on something like this. And she said, why don't you build this on Mega ETH? Why don't you work with us? You'll be the main stable coin. And I said, look, I mean, if you're launching a new stable coin, you need moat, and you can't just launch it by yourself. It's very difficult. What Ethena did is very difficult to replicate. Just build something by yourself and like scale it up. I think it's way better when you're working with a lot of partners.
I guess there's a lot of discourse online about, the whole Mega ETH versus Monad situation. So I guess what do you think are some common misconceptions about Mega ETH, and why are you so passionate about, this ecosystem in particular?
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about Mega ETH within the context of Monad, but I think Monad is more of a competitor to Sui, Aptos, Say, Harmony. There are all these alternative layer ones that are promising speed and performance. Mega ETH is Ethereum's answer to Solana because we don't know what the EF is gonna do, right? Now they're talking about scaling Ethereum, don't hold your breath, right? How can we get speed by at the same time having the economic security of Ethereum? That's like Mega ETH. And I think that's a very interesting, that's not why I'm building on Mega ETH at all, right? I think it's a good narrative, but I'm building on Mega ETH because I think the people working there are a very high pedigree.
But I guess like the FUD on it is like that it's not decentralized enough, right? Like that's the...
Yeah. I mean, neither is Solana, right? And they have plenty of PMF. I think there's just, they have a product with a certain market, and I think it's totally fair. If you want decentralization, you can pay for it on Ethereum.
What do you think about Solana? Because like, I never thought about this before. I've known you for a while, but like, I could see you getting along with like the Solana people, and I guess why have you ever thought about building a project on Solana before?
We're thinking about a V2 on Jito.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, because the thing about Solana is that I love Solana, but I don't think there have been very intricate DeFi systems built on Solana at all, right? Like, it's usually copy pasta from Ethereum. And so if there's from a founder point of view, it's like a vacuum, right? Like it's a perfect place to build what we're building for the shared security side, right? Because our cap grows as a function of the delegations we can get from restakers. That means L1 tokens, Bitcoin, ETH, BNB, Solana. No, but I think Solana is cool. I think they do a much better job of pushing their founders. You think about Ethereum pushing their founders.
Yeah.
They don't, right? Like we have the L2s, but L2s is not Ethereum.
Pushing and supporting as well?
Supporting, celebrating.
Right.
Yeah, like helping them raise.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know. When's the last time Vitalik helped anybody in DeFi with anything, right?
I mean, you? No?
No. Like, we hang out and stuff, and we talk about things and philosophy and history and stuff, but like, they don't help DeFi at all. And it's fine. I think they built a better product than Solana, but they haven't done the job for the community.
Do you have any mentors?
Mentors? A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's one thing that's like lacking, in especially first time founders, is like a lot of them are just too kind of like, believe their own bullshit or driven by their own ideas and don't like seek criticism to make them better. And specifically for the young crypto founders, which is obviously most of them, it concerns me that a lot of them don't have mentors or people that they talk to for advice outside of crypto, you know? And I just think it's really important to have diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, even if it's not applicable for CAP or whatever your project is that you're working on. Just hearing like, what does this person who knows nothing about stablecoins think about this topic, you know?
Well, first of all, my grandma understands everything we're building. And until I can explain it, literally,
really?
Like, she knew everything about she knew everything about like our company before. If I can't explain it to her, then it's a dead deal, you know? I don't know if she's my mentor, but definitely it has to pass the grandma check. Nice. But I think in crypto, especially in DeFi, there's a lot more peers than mentors, because most of the folks or the founders that make money leave because they weren't here for the tech at all. Like they just wanted to make money and they left. So who can be your mentor? So there are not that many, but I think there are a lot of like, at least in stablecoin world, there are a lot of stablecoin founders that have been here a while like us, and we all talk to each other all the time. I think having that dialogue is quite nice. Yeah,
I mean, you got the stablecoin mafia chat, which is definitely like it's definitely where the OG stablecoin founders come to congregate, and
there are a lot of them are in our cap table. Yeah. Like Michael from Curve, he made CRVUSD, Spark founder, Kane Warwick from Synthetics, Sam.
You hold Michael from Curve in high regards.
Very, yeah. Well, he's a very, very good mathematician. Like the guy, like is very smart.
That much is clear.
Yeah,
I'll save this one. I'll save this conversation.
I don't know too much about any drama stuff.
I definitely respect the innovation, what he did. Like, I personally don't have a great personal relationship with him, but I definitely have respect for the work he's done in the space.
Because the thing is, like, if you're talking about DeFi, who do you talk to, right? Like the VCs don't know what a PSM is. Right? You don't talk to the VCs. They don't know about DeFi. So
I have no idea what a PSM is.
Yeah, so there you go. Nobody knows. So like there's very few people you can talk to. And I think Michael's one of them. You know, the Spark people.
You can talk to Michael? He's impossible to talk to.
Really? He has the fastest response rate.
Oh, no. Chat.
Oh yeah. I chat with him. I DM if you're watching.
Yeah. Shout out to you, man. He's definitely not watching. Back to Mega ETH for a second before we get out of it. And I do want to like salute Amir and the rest of the Mega ETH team. Like the ecosystem projects that I've been seeing have all been highly curated, like really high quality GTE. I just chatted with the guy from Noise the other day. Lucas.
No, Lucas.
Yeah. I like the strategy, and I just like what's going on in the Mega ETH ecosystem. What do you think what do you think is a misconception about them that people get wrong?
There's a few, but I think there are a lot of first-time founders in the mafia. People don't really know what to make of them. So yeah, there's probably like a lot of misconceptions regarding that, but I know them pretty well. I am pretty excited about how like novel all the ideas are. Like Noise, for example, is interesting. GTE, Valhalla, they all are doing things that are not really copy pasta from other chains. Yeah, and we're all very separate from Mega ETH. Right, it's not like maybe Blast, for example, it was all very connected to Pac-Man. Here is not the case at all. Mega ETH has no monetary incentive with us. Like they don't.
Really?
They don't own our token. They, I mean, a lot of the mafia invested in Cap, which is great, but it's not like we're giving allocations to Mega ETH or anything like that. So it's pretty separate.
So last couple of guests I've had here actually have all been fellow Brass Factory people like yourself. I guess, why did you choose to work in the Brass Factory? What's it like? Yeah, give me some of the Brass Factory lore.
Yeah, well, for us, we moved to New York. I was nomadic. I was having a fun time. Like, being nomadic is great. But we decided we're going to be in person, and we're going to be, very serious about this. And so we're to work, right? New York is where all the crypto people are. So if you want to be where all the crypto people are, might as well be in an open space. Like, we have our office, but it's like connected to many other offices. So you walk into a lot of other founders, and you have a lot of kind of conversations with them, which is nice. So we knew we weren't going to have like a standalone separate building office. Now, within the scope of that, Eigenlayer is in Brass Factory. We're an ABS. We need to be there. But also there are a lot of peer protocols. There's Ostium, there's Superform, Steakhouse. Yeah.
Shout out to all of them, clients of mine.
Chaos is down the road. Like, everybody's there. So it makes sense to be there.
Good vibes.
The other option would be Soho. Yeah, but that's expensive.
I want to ask you about operating principles of how you run your business. Operationally, is there anything, this is what what's a specific thing that you have? Is, for example, being in person in New York, I guess is an example of that. But I guess anything interesting about how you run your business compared to how other founders might operate?
I think it depends on the culture, managerial, style too. For me, I have a very laissez-faire approach. Everybody knows what they're here to do. And it's up to them to do it. Yeah. And I'm here to help them if they need help. But it's not like I'm giving people tasks. I don't like the taskmaster, task monkey scenario. And I see a lot of first time founders be like this.
You know what I noticed about you is that you're a very balanced person. You don't get
I paid him to say that.
No. You don't get overly emotional. It doesn't seem like you don't get overly stressed about a bad situation or overly excited about a good situation. I imagine that's a pretty good quality for a founder.
Yeah, I mean, I get stressed. There's a lot of things to be stressed about, but we try to handle everything internally.
And I guess I don't know exactly what my question here is on this one, but I feel like when we were talking at dinner the other day, you had some interesting takes about Asia for these kind of projects or for you said something about maybe I would love to be in Japan.
I'd love to be in Japan.
Obviously, just for vibes is amazing, but for business, I can't remember what the take was, but I feel like there was something there.
I mean, for us, naturally, all of our partners to be operators generating yield for us are in the US or are in Europe. And they are the large HFT firms, banks, etc. Capital is elsewhere. Capital is in Asia, in South America, in Africa. Because you have to think about who wants to be on chain, right? If you are a large investor in the US, you can go to Apollo and deposit your money. You don't need to be on chain. Mm-hmm. If you're a family office in Bangkok, that's where it gets interesting. So I do think we'll have a lot of space, a lot of things to be doing in Asia, because I think that's where the capital is.
I don't know, man. This the Chinese market maker thing is scary. It makes me not even want to touch any of Asia, which obviously is
there are a lot
absurd.
of things that have happened in China, but a lot of users are in China. In fact, maybe barring Korea, I think Chinese people are one of the biggest markets, at least for buying and selling tokens. So that's important. But also capital. There's a lot of money in China.
Facts.
And especially given the situation that China is in today, I I'm not gonna say a lot of things about China on air, but like given where they are now in terms of capital markets, it's a very interesting, like what we can do in DeFi can provide a lot of value for users in China.
I don't know if I have too much more, but I guess what are some of the current challenges that you're working on internally, like for the project? Like what is the team grinding on these days? And I guess, give me like a roadmap for the next couple months going forward of like what you expect and would like to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, we have the product finished. So now we're preparing for launch. And yeah, in the next weeks, maybe month, we're finishing onboarding all of the operators. So the way our model works is that you have these operators that generate yield for us. Because we don't think that dApp developers should be making yield. We think that there are better people. Like Apollo is better at making yield than anybody in crypto, right? They made 12% APR or like 10% APR on $600 billion last year. Name me one DeFi protocol that can say that, right? So yeah, we're working with a lot of those and we're onboarding them. We're going to have a pilot program or a testnet program where all these institutions have agreed to help us test the product. That's going to happen throughout the summer. And then when Mega ETH goes live, that's when we'll kick on like the full product for retail to use.
Cool.
So those are the things that are coming up.
Last question I got for you is like, when you're talking to financial institutions, what is their biggest like question mark or pushback on you? And like, I guess the biggest objective that you have to overcome when you're speaking to institutions, what is that?
I would say that it's way easier to talk to TradFi than it is to talk to crypto people, because the TradFi people understand what we're building in a second. I mean, our shortest pitches have been with TradFi.
Wow.
Because they get it immediately, especially with how private credit is going in TradFi markets in general. I think we're offering something that's very valuable to them. Yeah, I think I mean, and they move very fast in terms of like their understanding, but they move very slowly in terms of like operations. I think that's been the biggest hurdle. They're extremely slow. Like
the time to close the cycle of closing the deal.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking to these institutions to be operators for us for several months. And there's a lot of due diligence. And that's why I don't think anybody's going to fork us. There's no way. Like
they can't make it through this.
Have fun trying to fork us, right? Like if people want to like do something similar, usually what they do is that they say, okay, we're going to get institutions to generate yield for us. Their idea of institutions is crypto market makers, right? We're getting the world's largest institutions to make yield for our users. And so it's a completely different game.
Last thing for real. Do you have any general advice to, I guess, new first-time founders coming into the space? Let's say you're a smart, young guy or girl coming out of school, a couple years in the game, and you have a good idea and you want to build your first project in crypto. As an experienced founder, like, what's a piece of advice that you would give that person?
Crazy. Like, the amount of people that don't read the documentation of projects they talk about is crazy. I mean, a lot of people, let's say, that don't even know how EigenLayer works. And let's say they should know. They really should know how EigenLayer works because they never read the docs. Right now, our head of research, he hasn't been in DeFi ever. It's his first time in DeFi. He knows more than a lot of VCs that specialize in DeFi. Like I said, like a lot of VCs don't know what a PSM is, peg stability module, for those watching. And it's because these people just don't read. When I got into DeFi, the first thing I did was read the entire forum of MakerDAO, which is a lot, by the way. All the discussions, everything that's gone on, all the drama, read the documentation for all the projects, I used them. You think that's like the base, but people just come in and say, I'm going to come up with a solution in a vacuum without ever having thought about what everybody else has done before, what has gone well, what has gone wrong. They think they can just come up with it all in their head, like as if somebody hasn't had the same issues you've had before.
Could you ever see yourself in the future becoming a VC?
I don't know.
Because I think you have very strong fundamentals and principles.
Yeah.
And I think like you would be able to evaluate projects really well without getting caught up in the moment, or you know what I'm saying?
I do think that being a VC is different than being a founder, right?
Of course.
Like you see a lot of VCs invest in scams, like actual scams, and they make money still. Right, like all the L2s and the infra projects and L1s that are absolutely scams.
Yeah.
They will still make like 400x.
But let's say you're a founder, you've got a successful project under your belt, you got a couple dollars, and you want...
I mean, I angel all the time.
And I imagine your angels are not like pure money plays.
I don't make money in a lot of them because I
want to support the ecosystem, building good.
I invest in people I want to see in this space, and that doesn't always mean I'm trying to make money.
Fuck yeah, bro.
So love that's why I'm like, if you're dealing with outside capital and you're a VC, it's a different skill.
Yeah, you're working for that investor. You're working for your LPs, period.
Yeah.
As an angel, I'm putting my stamp on this. This is something I'm getting behind, and I don't owe you anything, you know?
Yeah. And there are a lot of good VCs out there. Like I would highlight like Multicoin, Dragonfly. I think they're some of the smartest people I've talked to, but and they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
But I don't know how these other some VCs. I'm like, I don't know how people put money in these things. You know?
Yeah. Shout out to the good people doing good things out here and the investors supporting honest, good builders, man. We got one here. Proud to be involved with this project. Show them some love. Support them when you see them outside. We out. Peace.